What is going on, guys? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a top 15 opponents that I would like to see Daniel Bryan wrestle when we see him officially return after WrestleMania 34. We all know he will be making his long-awaited 3-year return to the ring on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 34. We cannot wait for that. But what's next for Daniel Bryan? We already know he's confirmed for the Greatest Royal Rumble match. Looking forward to that. But after that, these are the top 15 opponents that I would like to see the leader of the Yes Movement face on either Raw or SmackDown. Whatever brand he ends up, post-WrestleMania, post-draft, whatever you want to do, these I feel will be the best opponents to match Daniel Bryan up in the ring with. Start off with number 15. I think Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe would be a kick-ass match. Samoa Joe, hard-hitting, physical, the Samoan destroyer once he returns from injury. I think maybe you could possibly draft him to SmackDown Live. And I think, Joe is this badass, unstoppable heel up against the lovable underdog, and Daniel Bryan would be an easy feud to get behind. I think it could produce a killer series of matches between Bryan and Joe. Be a fresh opponent for Joe, for him to make his return. So that's one possibility that I could see happening. Joe getting drafted to SmackDown and then feuding with Daniel Bryan. But I think they could just have a terrific feud over the summer if you wanted to. So Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan is number 15 on my list. Number 14 on my list is Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. We all remember the gauntlet match that Bryan had to run with the Real Americans back in 2013. He beat Jack Swagger, and then him and Cesaro tore it up on Raw in the main event. Still one of my favorite matches in Raw history was that gauntlet match with Daniel Bryan beating Jack Swagger and Cesaro back in 2013. Hard to believe it was 5 years ago. But Cesaro, the Swiss Superman, I could definitely see him and Sheamus, the Bar, being drafted to SmackDown Live. But I think just a singles feud with Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. Cesaro, one of the best in-ring workers in WWE, and you put up, him and his prowess, his power, and I think him and Bryan could really tear things up in the ring. And Cesaro was, of course, part of Bryan's final match as of now in WWE, which was on SmackDown on April 16, 2015. It was Daniel Bryan and John Cena versus Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. So, like I said, we've seen these two fight before, but I think a feud would do wonders for Cesaro, and it would help bring out the best in Daniel Bryan. So, number 14 on my list, Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan. Number 13, I think Daniel Bryan versus a heel Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega would be a fantastic feud. Love Almas' work since becoming NXT champion, since teaming up with Zelina Vega. He's really transformed himself, and I feel he's getting ready for his eventual move to the main roster. Could appear as early as after WrestleMania. If he does appear on SmackDown Live, what a great first feud for him to go up against Daniel Bryan. I think the matches that they could have, they'd really complement each other with this high-octane, high-flying style. Bryan with his lethal kicks and the just diving through the ropes and what have you of what he does best would complement nicely with Andrade's Lucha Libre style. So that is a match that I would like to see on the main roster, and hopefully we get it. Andrade Cien Almas versus Daniel Bryan. Number 12 on my list, I have Daniel Bryan versus Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship. Pete Dunne, took great inspiration from Daniel Bryan, going all the way back to the United Kingdom Championship tournament with his ring gear and, modeling it after Daniel Bryan. To me, this is, easily a match that I'd want to see. These two could definitely go in there and tear the house down. But, hey, you put the belt on the line as well, the United Kingdom Championship, what more could you want? I think, this would be a really technical match between these two. Really physical match. But it's a match that I hope we get to see down the line. I just hope we get to see more Pete Dunne on NXT, period, going forward. So, yeah, Pete Dunne, Daniel Bryan. I want to see a WWE make it happen. Number 11 on my list is Daniel Bryan versus a heel Dean Ambrose. I feel once Ambrose is healed, Hopefully everything's going well with his surgery, his recovery. 6 to 9 months once he returns. I think a heel Dean Ambrose versus a Daniel Bryan would be a great feud. I think, Bryan works best as the underdog. Putting him up against a lunatic, truly lunatic fringe in Dean Ambrose, where he's gone unhinged, where he's delved into his Jon Moxley run on the independents, and is just this psychotic Joker-esque like character, would be a great foil for Bryan. I feel it's time to pull the trigger on a Dean Ambrose heel turn, and what better opponent besides Seth Rollins when he comes back than Daniel Bryan. It's a feud we have yet to see. We've seen him have clashes before on Raw when Ambrose was in the Shield, but I think a full-blown feud between these two would be something worth to watch. Daniel Bryan versus Dean Ambrose, another feud that I would like to see happen. Jumping around here, we got Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy. These two could have a really great match, really high-flying match. Jeff Hardy, I feel, would be perfect to go to SmackDown. I enjoyed his run on SmackDown from, 2008 when he got drafted over till he left in 2009. To me, that was some of Jeff Hardy's best stuff when he won the WWE Championship. His feud with Matt, his great feud with CM Punk, and I feel just you put Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan in the ring, that's a match that I easily want to see. It's a fresh match. I can only imagine what these two would want to come up with, but Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, another match that I would like to see when Bryan makes his return to the ring. Number 9 on my list is, this goes without saying, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. For the Intercontinental Championship, I think after WrestleMania, Rusev goes to Raw if he wins the United States Championship. Miz goes to SmackDown, freshens things up, and boom, you could build to The Miz versus Daniel Bryan for the IC Championship. Hell, you already have a built-in build for this match. The Miz was Daniel Bryan's pro when he debuted on NXT in its original incarnation. Everything that The Miz has said, since Daniel Bryan was general manager of SmackDown, and the build-up, the animosity, saying you can't wrestle anymore, why don't you go somewhere else, why don't you leave WWE, Bryan, if you want to. The Miz just constantly egging and getting under Daniel Bryan's skin. And what a story it would be for Miz to walk into SummerSlam, still as the Intercontinental Champion, longest reigning, whatever, stat you want to throw out there. In my opinion, one of the best. In recent memory, The Miz and the IC title, to me, have become synonymous. Ever since he won it back at Mania 32, he's been on fire. And I think you put him up against Daniel Bryan in a setting like SummerSlam, that would be a really kick-ass match. You already have the built-in feud, the built-in storyline. You just build on it from there. And, I want to see Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, ideally at SummerSlam. Number 8 here on my list, Daniel Bryan versus a heel Finn Balor. I feel it would work best if Balor is in the heel role. Because like I said, Daniel Bryan, he's just so easily likable, easy to get behind. Can you imagine a heel Finn Balor on SmackDown Live with the Balor Club? Wrecking shop. One man stands up against them. Bryan versus Balor could have some great matches. They really could. And a vicious heel Finn Balor, somebody for Bryan to overcome, and Anderson, Gallows, and Balor. Hell, if you want to throw AJ in there, and we'll get to AJ. He is on my list, but to me, this is a match waiting to happen, and it's only a matter of time before Finn Balor versus Daniel Bryan happens on the main roster, and I can't wait for it. Number 7 here on my list. Daniel Bryan versus a heel Roman Reigns. I'll say this right now. Daniel Bryan versus a heel Roman Reigns is my ideal WrestleMania 35 main event. To me, that story writes itself. You have the returning babyface and Daniel Bryan. You keep Bryan on SmackDown, Reigns on Raw. Or if they're both on the same show, then that's when conflict comes into play. And you could build to this match. Reigns could get jealous over the fact that Bryan came back just when he was kind of getting, a better reaction from the crowd, and he stole his thunder once again, just like he stole his thunder at the 2015 Royal Rumble, when it was Roman Reigns' time to take the spotlight, when it was Roman Reigns' moment to beat Brock Lesnar. He had to get Bryan out of the way at Fastlane. He thought he was gone and done for good. You had your little concussions and your retirement and what have you, but Roman Reigns kept going on. Roman Reigns went to the main event of WrestleMania. Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And then picture this. Bryan's out there on Raw, or probably Raw, and Reigns comes down and he says everything that I was saying to you about how Bryan took his spotlight, how you took his moment, and now I'm going to take everything from you, which includes your career. And he viciously beats down Bryan. We're off to the races. Bryan versus Reigns for the Universal Championship, WrestleMania 35. You want your main event? Boom. You got it. That would be my ideal WrestleMania 35 main event. Number 6 on my list is Daniel Bryan versus Alistair Black. I think it'll be a while before we see this one because I see Alistair having a nice run with the NXT Championship, but I could definitely see this match happening in 2019. When Alistair Black, I just don't see him getting called up yet. I feel he'll have his run with the NXT Championship, and then we'll see Alistair Black called up. But I think a showdown between Alistair Black and Daniel Bryan with his vicious, kicks. Just the battle with the kicks would be, enough alone for me to love this match. But the story that these two could tell, it would be a great showdown. And I know these two could go out there and tear it up in the ring. So whenever we see this match, I cannot wait to see it happen. Daniel Bryan, Alistair Black, just saying it gets me excited. Number 5 on my list, Daniel Bryan versus Braun Strowman. I love the story of, the underdog, the little guy going up against the big unstoppable monster. While I don't think we'll see Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, I think Daniel Bryan, Braun Strowman would be a great substitute. Strowman's come a long way since his time and his debut in WWE. And I think putting him in the ring against Daniel Bryan, he could really make Strowman shine like $1,000,000. And these two could tell a great story with Bryan trying to do everything he can to topple this. I mean, it's the easiest story to write, David versus Goliath. It works, little guy versus big guy. Some may argue it's not realistic, but it's wrestling. You can get away with it. You can do those matchups. That's why I love wrestling. Anything's possible, and I think this match would be something that WWE should consider for one of Daniel Bryan's opponents in the ring. Daniel Bryan, Braun Strowman. I'd like to see it. Number 4 on my list is Daniel Bryan versus a heel Seth Rollins. I remember we saw these two fight in 2015 on Raw. They had a really good match. Imagine what they could do on pay-per-view with a feud and a storyline. Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins during that heel run would have been great, especially when Rollins was champion. Man, that would have been amazing. But if you ever want to flip Rollins back to being heel, I like him as babyface right now, but if you ever want to flip him, you got a great opponent in him with Daniel Bryan. They have history from Ring of Honor, their days on the Independents. Everything would just line up perfectly, and I think these two could go out there and give us a hell of a match, and that's really all that I ask for. And I know these two could deliver, so hopefully we'll see Daniel Bryan versus a heel Seth Rollins in the future. Number 3. Missed one here. Got to go back. Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle. I think Bryan and Kurt, even at this stage in his career, I'd still like to see the match happen. When I met Kurt Angle, that was the match that I said when he returned to WWE, I'd hope he'd have. So, Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, Battle of General Managers. Could we see it happen? It's a possibility. You never know what will happen, but I'd like to see it. Number 2 on this list, this is why this guy signed to WWE to have this one match. And of course, I'm talking about the Royal Rumble winner, who will be facing AJ Styles this Sunday at WrestleMania 34, Shinsuke Nakamura. You could do this match at SummerSlam. You could do it next year at WrestleMania. Anytime, anywhere you do it, I will be watching for this match. Like I said, that's the reason Nakamura signed, and this match has to happen. It just has to happen now that Daniel Bryan is cleared, and I think we will see it happen. Whether that's at SummerSlam, or at WrestleMania next year, or at Survivor Series, I don't care where you do it, what time, what place. I will be watching, and I can't wait to see Daniel Bryan take on the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura. And finally, the match that I hope we would have gotten at WrestleMania 32 until Bryan had to announce his retirement. But now that he is back, a showdown between the phenomenal AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan is the match that I want to see. And, to me, this match would be epic. It would be everything a dream match should be, pitting two of the best in the world at what they do. Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles. Man, that would be a really great match. What more can you say? To me, that's the match I want to see. I think we will see it happen. They're both on SmackDown, so hey, there you go. You just build to it, and wherever that match takes place, cannot wait for it. So that is the top 15 opponents I would like to see Daniel Bryan face when he makes his in-ring return post-WrestleMania. Leave your top 15 opponents for Daniel Bryan down below in the comments section. Be sure to click that like and subscribe button here on youtube.com/DanielGuys412 for all my latest thoughts. And I will see you guys in my next video, whenever that may be. So until then, guys, thanks for watching.